Yes, it does actually. I do not use it because I'm an old fart, I guess, with Tornado. But there's this nice yield construct that you can use on it. You pass in the callback to the yield tornado.task.chin, I think is what it is. Anyway, you pass in the callback and it feels like an inline call. It just looks a little funny. But it's the same thing. You just don't have to worry about it.
It works really well.
You guys use it?
Really well.
Yeah. Better than yours?
No comment.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Yeah.
So I noticed that you had a bunch of tests in there where you did multiple assertions and kind of come from a little bit of camp where you want to try and do one assertion per test just so you can isolate exactly that property. Do you have any reasons why you usually do it that way, or do you?
I tend to do more assertions, and some of the members of my team don't like me for that. So I say really you kind of have to feel it out. If I end up having to copy and paste tons of construction, right, like I'll go build out this and I'll go build my URL and those kind of things, I tend to put more asserts in one statement, right? If I was asserting 404 and then I go write another one that's asserting 401 and then I go asserting 403, I have a lot of repeated code. And if I do change the contract of those models, it's just more places I have to go change my tests. So that's not a reason not to do it if you're cool with that. It does make your test a lot easier if you break them up into smaller chunks. You can just see much easier what it is you're testing. So to me, it's 6 of 1.
But you're losing an opportunity for more tests. You can do decorators for your tests to pass in the construct, but then you need to test those testing decorators.
Yes, yeah. Do you test your testing frames? Yeah.
I've done that. Don't lie.
We actually have decorators that construct these resources, like construct these like mock factories and all that kind of stuff. And so instead of your instead of your test looking like this, you know, it's like and then now I have room as an argument, right? Like we've done that, and it does help it. We didn't test those though. we just wrote them. So yeah, you can test your tests. Yeah.
This was slightly off from the testing, but when you deal with like GitHub projects and all that stuff, do you guys, fork them and then build out a whole test suite for external libraries or anybody else's GitHub project?
No, not really. We have a couple of projects that we use that we are unhappy with the state of the tests in them, and that does make us feel a little weird. But it's just you don't want to test that inside inside my request handler or inside my model or inside my unit testing or whatever. I don't want to test that requests is working, right? We just have to assume that requests is working. We have forked some projects that were broken and we submit tests and those kind of things when we're doing it.
But do you pull from their repo directly in your requirements? Or do you fork it and pull from your fork of it?
Well, that's a whole different discussion about what your production practices are versus like development and such. We tend to fork if we're going to use it in deployment, but then again, we actually have a couple different strategies for how we deploy active packages and freeze those. So.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious.
How we do that? Or?
Yeah, I was just kind of curious. No, I inherited a project that was pulling from 5 different active GitHub projects.
Just
and of course, they committed, and then we did a fresh deployment, and of course, those projects were not the same projects that had been developed upon.
If you are pulling from a repo, do pip install -e, the version that you're happy with, and it will flag a commit number and all that, and that way, even if they do go off and change, you're still pulling from that version, and you don't update your requirements .txt until you're confident that works.
We do it a lot, and we just use the tarball against the commit. With GitHub, they'll give you you can download any particular SHA-1, So that's what we do, and we just pass in the HTTP. It means you get a little bit of overhead when you do a reinstall because pip doesn't understand that may be the installed version. It still has to go fetch it and check.
Yeah.
But that way you always know this is the explicit version that works. It's the same thing as pinning to a version number. It's just a different way of doing it.
Yep.
And I mean, when I deploy apps, I even like to bring everything I'm using local because I mean, I've seen times when certain versions on the Python package index just get deleted or disappear, and then then you're screwed. Right?
Yeah, we have our own essentially PyPI that is just for that reason. LXML, they removed a buggy version and literally removed it. We had to go find it off of some mirror, and now that's the only way we can install.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the approaches to go is spin up your own cheese shop. And
yeah, we went to a fork and then wrote whole testing suites on everything.
I mean, if it's a core part of your system, then yeah, that makes good sense.
Yeah, I was just curious how you guys were handling it.
Probably not as well as we should.
Did you contribute this back to Bob?
So yeah, we said pull requests. They didn't because we ended up refactoring almost all of the projects that we had. So the pull requests were just so huge they weren't willing to take them.
Nice. Here's a new project, pull request. Version 8. There you go. Any other questions?
Why do you use nose instead of PyTest?
I like nose.
Why?
I actually don't know if I mean, I have not used PyTest, so that's probably the most honest answer. I do like, I don't know whether PyTest has it, but I like things like Red Nose. I like my coverage report working in Jenkins. Nose kind of does a lot of things very easily, so that's it. Yeah.
PyTest has, where you get the decorator for make awesome room and you have the room, PyTest has parameter injection, so you find a parameter injection somewhere like, how you define it, but you would just do make room, and if you just put room as a parameter in any function, it automatically looks at that parameter injection and you get room created for you. So
That doesn't feel very Pythonic.
That's magic.
it does do some magic. Asserts work the way you want asserts to work. You don't have to use assert equals true.
Yeah.
You just type assert this is true.
That's
so
actually my favorite part.
It makes asserts work the way they should work.
No self dot.
Yeah.
But it
Well,
does use magic to make that work.
Nose does the same thing with like OK underscore or EQ underscore. They don't necessarily rewrite assert, but they do give you a lot of helpers that'll say, here's 5 characters we just saved you. I have autocomplete, so I don't care.
PyTest does a lot of magic, but it works, so it's not much of a problem.
I'll look into it. Yeah, I haven't played with it.
There's no reason to change your testing system.
No.
No, I'm not going to change my testing system right now.
We really need to have like a battle royale of
Python
Python
testing.
testing.
That'd be cool. Speed. It'll be like speed test, right? It's a
Yeah.
race.
Do you guys actually use a mocking library, or is it homegrown in-house?
So we use Factory Boy for some things. That's one of those weird things that we had to kind of patch to make work. And then sometimes we just mock out things. When it's easy, we mock it out ourselves. Or when the requirements are weird. And then sometimes we'll even take objects and intercept them. We'll just monkey patch the method that some people feel weird about. But for example, if we're going to make a so in our world, our celery tasks, some of them are very long running. Like go transcode this hour-long feature film into 720p. Not something you want your testing library to do every time you push code. So we will intercept celery send task, check the parameters, and then carry on and not actually send it off. Those are some of the things we do too.
A good library, if you're looking for it, is mock.
I use one called Mocker.
Yeah.
That was because I work at Canonical and was developed by a Canonical employee, so
All right.
we kind of have to document it.
Yeah. Fudge is another good one. Fudge was what I thought was the best one for a while, but mock seems to have a lot of community behind it.
What's that? It's going actually to core.
Yeah, Python mock is going in. The guy from Void Space is going into core. We'll second Python mock. That's what we're using now.
Yeah.
Love it.
At PyCon, like at the testing BOF, everybody that had mocks was using mock.
Guess we're not cool. I'm gonna lose my
I
Python
just
card.
I hate Mocker.
In your opinion, since I've been giving a lot of opinion, in your opinion, are there some like popular third-party packages out there on GitHub or in PyPy that you think have really good, like sort of shining example of good testing practices?
Yes, but I actually can't think of them right now. Like we have a couple inside that we showed to you guys and all that, but I'm not remembering.
Fabric.
Fabric has good testing. We don't actually use that one, but yeah, that's a good one. uStudio has really good tests. Trying to think, I can't recall. Yeah.
Fabric is an interesting one. I can't claim any responsibility for the really interesting parts of the tests, but like it's literally built spinning up mock SSH servers and going that far. So here's
You kind of have to.
yeah, you have to verify that you can actually do what you expected, assuming SSH is working. Like that's where Fabric draws the line of this is the assumption we will assume everything at this point works like it should. But it's a pretty comprehensive test suite.
Any other questions? Okay. So let's